Girls, today we learn about World War One. World War One, World War Two, World War actually Cold War. World War Three has not started till now, and I pray that it never happens. So these are the wars which changed the world forever. The world which looked like before World War One was totally different, and this war shaped. Generally, it gave a it shaped basically the world we live in. And World War Two changed further, and Cold War changed it further. So these are very important, and to understand World War, it will not just help you in your syllabus, but it will help you understand the world politics today. For example, Ukraine war is happening. If you know all these wars, especially like Cold War, you will understand why this problem exists. Similarly, like there was a time when there was no country called Saudi Arabia. It came into being 100 years ago, and that was a fallout of World War One. Not just Saudi Arabia. Some World War One, World War Two, they created some 70 countries, and that was the result of world wars. So, to begin with, we have to understand what was the atmosphere during that time. I'm talking about the year 1900, 1900 AD. That was the time when world was changing, big time. For example, that was an era which was, that brought industrialization. So many new machines were being made, so many weapons were being made. That changed the way people fight, countries fight, right? New heavy weapons were coming, and industrialization came, and people were migrating from cities, and that changed everything, their lifestyle. There was a time when no woman used to work in European countries and Western countries, but that World War One, World War Two, and industrialization, that changed. Like most of your brothers, they don't work, I guess.
Yes.
But in Europe or in America, all people, including women, works. So that was the time. That was the fallout of World War One and industrialization. So to begin with, the year 1900, that was an era when some big powers were there in the world. Those were not the countries, but they were empires. You understand empire, right?
Yes.
So there were no fixed countries today like we see, like Pakistan, India, these, that, and Saudi Arabia, Iraq. That was not there. All Arab countries, 22 Arab countries plus some African countries plus some European countries, they together were in under Ottoman Empire. Similarly, Germany was there. There was no country called Poland that was part of Germany, and Austro-Hungary was there. Many countries which we see today were part of Austro-Hungarian Empire. So these were some of the big powers. Germany, Austro-Hungary, Italy, Ottoman Empire was there, and UK, France, Russia, they were big powers, and America was not the sole superpower of that time. That was emerging. America was emerging that time. That was a sleeping giant, right? So, but big powers were UK, France, Germany, and their friends, Austro-Hungary, Italy, and all. So that was an era when these big powers, there was a competition between them about how many colonies they will take. You understand colonies,
Yes.
right? Like India was the colony of Britishers. Similarly, they were all suspicious of each other. Like they were in an assumption that, like for example, Germany was in an assumption that UK and France will take my colonies, they will take my power. I want to protect myself, so they were making huge weapons. They were making huge armies. That process is called as militarization, right? And that was an era when that sentiment of nationalism was emerging everywhere, right? Similarly, so they were afraid of each other, and they made some open alliances and some secret alliances. So this alliance, UK, France, and Russia, they made an alliance first, and that alliance was called as Triple Entente. Triple Entente, and this alliance of Germany, Austro-Hungary, and Italy was called as Triple Alliance. Triple Alliance. And according to those alliances or the agreements they made, they were bound to help each other when they are in trouble or somebody attacked them. So that was the scenario. So talking about the reasons for World War technically, you can say one, militarism. means making huge armies with the help of industrialization. You are making huge weapons in the industries, and you are building huge armies. Lakhs and lakhs of people were joining in the army. One, militarization and aggressive nationalism. You understand nationalism? Our country is the best. That feeling. When you add aggressiveness, that becomes negative. Like you're very harsh towards others. Aggressive nationalism. We are the best, and we have right to rule the world. Something like that. And imperialism. You understand imperialism? The process of taking colonies, making use of their resources. Like Britishers use our resources, they made us colony. So that was one of the reasons. So how many we counted till now? Militarism, imperialism, aggressive nationalism, secret alliances. There was secret, like Ottoman, Triple Entente and Triple Alliance, secret alliances, and Balkan politics. Very good. Balkan. What do you understand by Balkan? Anybody? It's a region. It's a region in South Europe.
Yes.
If you see the map of the Europe, there is a peninsula in south of the continent that is called as Balkan region. Balkan region was, that was the time when Ottoman Empire was becoming very weak. There was a time when Ottoman Empire controlled Balkan regions. So now Ottoman Empire was becoming weak, and there was a race to who will control Balkan region, prominently between Austro-Hungary and Ottoman Empire and some other countries, Russia. That was the time they were competing for Balkan region. Okay, can any girl name today's country which is there in Balkan region? One country. GK question. Can you name one country of Balkan region? Huh? No, not a single girl.
Turkey.
Turkey is not Balkan. Sorry.
Germany.
No.
Italy.
No, Serbia, you can say. Serbia, Kosovo, Bosnia. Yes, that is Balkan region. So, anyways, Balkan region, Balkan politics is one of the reasons for World War I. 5 reasons. Can you tell me? Any other girl can stand and tell me those 5 reasons which just now I explained? Yeah, Neha. What are the 4 reasons of World War I?
Aggressive nationalism,
Good.
imperialism, militarism, secret alliances, Balkan politics.
Very good. Yeah. So now we'll come to what is the starting point of the World War I. Starting point, trigger. Tension was there from the beginning, but something happened that led to war. It is that in the year 1914, the World War started in the year 1914 and ended in 1918, 4 years. So the Archduke of Austro-Hungarian Empire, Frank Ferdinand, went to Bosnia with his wife. Okay, generally leaders go to other countries with their wives,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If Biden is going somewhere, he will go with Jill Biden, right? But our Prime Minister is not having good relations with his wife, so he goes alone. Okay. So Austro-Hungarian Crown Prince or Archduke Frank Ferdinand went to Bosnia. He was on an official visit, but Bosnian people and that Balkan people were not happy with the influence of Austro-Hungary on their region and Ottoman Empire. They wanted their own identity, their own nationalism. Why are they interfering in our affairs? That sentiment was there, right? We are separate. We don't belong to them. That is called as nationalism, aggressive nationalism. You can say,
Yes.
right? We are separate. They are different. We are different. That is the aggressive nationalism. So that sentiment. So some organizations were very active in that Bosnia and Balkan region. They were basically against the influence of other countries, other empires like Ottoman Empire and Austro-Hungary. So one such organization was Black Hand, and a member of Black Hand called Gabrielo Princip killed or assassinated Archduke with his wife, right? So just imagine the future king, the would-be king was killed. So the Austro-Hungarian Empire was very angry at that, obviously. and they blamed Serbia. There was another country in Balkan region, and that was friend of Russia. They had some secret alliance, and if you look at the ethnicity of the people living in Russia and people living in Serbia are same. So they had some emotional connection also. Plus they were allies. Understand? So Austro-Hungarian Archduke went to Bosnia. There he was killed by somebody, and Austro-Hungary blamed Serbia for the killing. They said, you are responsible for the killing, you knew the plot to kill him, and you are to be blamed. What you have to say about this? Serbia gave an explanation that we don't know anything about it, and we have nothing to do with it. So this incident was a very serious one during that time, right? So the whole world was seeing some diplomatic activities during that time. Ministers were going from one place to another, they were calling, they were talking, they were meeting. So that is, I think the Archduke was killed in the year June 1914. I think 28 June. 28 June. So it followed all the diplomatic activities around the world in July, and that process of countries talking to each other about this crisis is called as July crisis.
Yes.
Right? So when Serbia gave an explanation to Austro-Hungarian Empire saying that we don't, we have nothing to do with the killing, Austro-Hungary was not satisfied with the answer. No, you are hiding something, like you knew, you are telling lies, something like that. So within no time, Austro-Hungarian Empire attacked Serbia. What is the capital of Serbia? Even today it is the same capital, Belgrade. So Austro-Hungarian Empire attacked Serbia, Belgrade. When that happened, Russia was friend of Serbia. Russia intervened in the war from Serbia and started fighting Austro-Hungary. When that happened, they were friends, Germany. Germany attacked Russia. When that happened, UK and France also joined. Like that, the war started everywhere. Not just in Europe, but other countries, other places also where they had colonies. For example, in Africa, they were having colonies, So in Pacific Ocean also, like the Southeast Asia, like Japan and Indonesia, that area, they were also colonies. So fighting started there also, everywhere. So everywhere, the whole, all parts of the world were engulfed in the war. That is why it is World War. It is not confined to one particular area or region. It started from Europe but spread to all over the world. And huge complications the world saw of this war, and it was a very destructive war. Many things happened during that time that changed the world forever. What happened, we'll learn about. So initially USA was not interfering in the war. Very soon Ottoman Empire, which had some enmity with Russia, there was many areas, especially a region is there called Caucasus region. So they were both competing for that. So when Russia joined from Germany's, from Serbia's side, and Germany intervened in the war, so Ottoman Empire took side of Germany. So the Ottoman Empire joined the war, and now the alliance name changes here. For example, so Italy was not bound to take part in the war, because what treaty they had that said that if Germany was attacked by somebody, Italy would intervene in the war from Germany's side. But here, Germany, nobody was attacking Germany, but Germany was attacking other countries. So Italy said that no, I will not interfere in the war. Not only Italy did not take part from Germany's side, but it joined these forces on certain conditions. They promised them that whatever land we will occupy or will have after this war, we will give some lands to you. So Italy was happy with that. So Italy joined the war from this side. It switched side.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Ottoman Empire joined. So now Germany, Austro-Hungary and Ottoman Empire were called as Central Powers.
Yes.
During the war, they are Central powers, and they are allied powers. So after some time, Germany was very powerful. It had a huge army and special navy also. So Germany sunk USA's commercial ship. It was not a warship. It was a commercial ship. Means some goods were going on, transporting from one place to another. So when it happened, USA joined the war from Allied power side. So they became very strong because America was emerging power. It was very, strong militarily as well as security point of view also. It was very strong. So the war continued, and the war continued from 1914 to 1918. Initially, it looked that Germany would win the war, Germany and France. But very soon, especially when USA joined the war, the complexion of the war changed, and finally in 1918 they won the war. They lost the war. During that time, something very interesting happened in Russia. Russian Revolution came in the year 1917. Much before the World War I ended, there was a revolution in Russia. So now we are talking about the consequences of the war. The war is over, they won, they lost. So now consequences, what happened after the war are as a result of war. To begin with, we'll talk about Russia, Russian Revolution. In Russia, there was a dynasty called Tsar dynasty, or there's another name for them, Romanov dynasty. The last king of Tsar dynasty or Romanov dynasty, Nicholas II, right, very good. So Nicholas II is the last king. So he was ruling and he was actively taking part in the war. But people were not happy because of the war. Because Russia was the one who suffered the most in terms of lives. So people were not happy with that. Mothers were losing their sons and husbands. Wives were losing their husbands. And all food was going to war front. People were dying of hunger. So they were not happy. Obviously, things became very costly. Prices gone up. So people were not happy in Russia. As a result, people came on streets, especially women. In St. Petersburg, they had a huge protest, and they were demanding two things:
Peace and bread.
peace and bread, end the war, and ensure that we have enough food for our children. Right? Peace and bread. So king was not happy with it. No government, especially kings, will not like the idea that people coming and staging some protest against them, right? So just imagine in Saudi Arabia, can you even think that in Saudi Arabia some 10,000 people are coming on streets and having some protest against King Salman? It cannot, it is not possible. It happened. Sometimes in Iran it happened, and some other countries it happened, and revolutions came, but generally it is not a normal tendency.
Yes.
So king was not happy with that protest, and king ordered his army, his men, to shoot at the protesters. But soldiers were sympathetic towards protesting women because they also were fed up with the war, and they understood that the demand which they are making is genuine.
Yes.
Like, we should not have this war. So soldiers not only refused to obey the king's order, but they joined the protesters.
Yes.
Understand?
Yes.
So that made him very scared, king, and he left his throne. He fled because army is not with him. What is king without army? So he fled. Finally, he was arrested, and there was a revolution in Russia. An interim government came. Interim means time being government. A new government came that was made up of certain elite sections of Russian society. But unfortunately, what they did, they said that we will continue the war for the honor of Russia. For the honor of Russia, people were protesting basically to end the war. But what the new government said, we will continue the war. That created a room in Russian society, and that room was utilized by communist leader called Vladimir Lenin. You know communism, I think by now you should know what is communism. Can anybody tell me what is communism? Yeah.
Socialism.
Yeah, what is it? What is it? What is it? Anyone? Yeah. Huh? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that is an economic idea or a philosophy that says that the ways of production and resources should be held by governments or state. It should not be in the hands of certain people, right? And the fruits of development or whatever production you are making should be distributed equally among them. That is the basically idea of communism or socialism. So those people who believed in that idea was basically given by some 200 years ago by one person called Karl Marx. Karl Marx in Germany, but it was never implemented. But for the first time in the world, in the year 1917, somebody thought that this idea is workable. We can work on it and we can implement it. So Lenin gathered all the people and they used to talk about what should we do and all. Those were called as councils. Councils means small group of people. They used to talk about what's happening in the country and in the world. So he mobilized those councils, and he made them convinced that we should have a communist system in our country. Now king is gone and we should have this new system. So he convinced many people, and finally he brought a revolution. So that revolution, when people came on street in St. Petersburg, is called as February or March Revolution. I think March Revolution. March Revolution. But after 6 months roughly, he gathered all his friends and those people who believed in communism idea. They were called as Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks, yes. So he brought another revolution in the very same year, that is 1917. That is in the month of October. That is why it is called as October Revolution. And there was a communist system in Russia. And the dynasty which was ruling since 300 years, that was considered as a substitute or the successor of the great Roman Empire. They used to say that we are the protectors of Christianity, these, that and all. So that ended in the year 1917. Since 300 years that Romanov or Tsar family was ruling, and it was ended. There was a revolution finally, and immediately after the revolution in Russia, there was a civil war started between those who believe in communism, basically Bolsheviks, and those who are against the idea of communism. So all people who were supporters of king, they joined the war against them, and some people, that feudals, zamindars you can call them, they were also having a war with them. Why? Because if communist system applies, there are no feudals, because the communism is basically against the idea of feudals. So whoever was against the communism, they fought in that war, civil war, and that civil war continued from 1917 to 1922. 4-5 long years, and these powers also helped those people who were against communism. Why? Because they also did not like the idea of communism, and they also hated the idea of communism. So finally, communists or Bolsheviks won that civil war, and Russia became USSR. It became a very big power of the time, and USSR was there from 1922 to 1991. How many years? 70, more than 70, or approximately 70 years. So that was a fallout of World War I, Russian Revolution. First leader of Russian Revolution was Lenin. But Lenin died very soon. I think in the year 22 or 23 he died. And his successor was, any idea? Who became next leader of Soviet Union after Lenin? A man with big moustache. Yeah?
Bismarck.
No. Bismarck lived long. Stalin. Joseph Stalin. His name was Joseph Stalin, and that was another story. So this was the fallout of, you can say, Russian Revolution was one fallout of First World War. There were many others, fallout. For example, these winning powers, especially UK and France, they met at a place called Versailles in France near Paris, and they had meetings for 6 months. in the year 1919, they had meetings in Versailles Palace. There's a huge palace called Versailles Palace. It is written as Versailles, but I think it is pronounced as Versailles. So they had meetings. In that meeting, they were not there. Defeated powers were not invited. Only they were sitting. And they decided many things on themselves. For example, they blamed Germany for the war. You are responsible for the destruction. Lakhs of people got killed, crores of people were migrated, lives were changed, forever. It was a very, destructive war. So they blamed Germany for the war and they ended German Empire. And now Germany became a very weak republic called Weimar Republic. So, and they took some land from Germany and they put some conditions on Germany, especially that Germany will not have any strong army. They will not have heavy weapons, they will not have good number of soldiers, very weak army, and Germany will pay compensation or war damages to them, money every year. So they were humiliating conditions. You understand humiliating?
Insulting.
Yes, insulting, very good. So they put humiliating conditions on Germany. They took land, they asked them to pay money, they put condition that they cannot have strong army, and they broke that empire. They broke this empire also. Hungarian Empire also broke. They dismantled it and created new places and they divided those places among themselves. They did same thing with Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire today, yesterday there was a meeting in Cairo of Arab League. How many countries are there in Arab League? Any idea? Arab League is an organization in which all Arab countries are members. Can you have any guess at least?
21.
Very close. I think 22 countries are there
19. Yes.
in Arab League. So 22 Arab countries were there who were part of Ottoman Empire, and not just Arab countries, some other countries in Europe also were part of Ottoman Empire. Turkey, present day Turkey was part of Ottoman. So it was a huge empire, but they dismantled. Basically UK and France, they two ministers of UK and France, they sat at a place on a table and they draw A and B part and A part and they divided between themselves as if they are cutting a cake. They divided lands like that. Those ministers are called as Sykes and Picot. That is why that agreement of dividing the Ottoman Empire is called as Sykes-Picot Agreement. Ministers of two countries, Sykes and Picot. So they broke Austro-Hungarian Empire, they broke Ottoman Empire, and they created some countries, especially for those people who were helping them in the war. Like, understand? Some Arabs were not happy with Ottoman Empire because Ottoman Empire was basically Turks, right? But they made Arabs to believe that, look, Islam started from Arab and they are ruling. Why? You deserve to be the king or Khalifa or whatever. So people got convinced with them. There's a movie also called what is that? No. Lawrence of Arabia. Ever heard?
No.
There was a British officer who was very fluent in Arabic. He went to Arab kings and princes. He became friends. He convinced them that, look, they are ruling on you. And finally they were convinced. As a result, they rewarded them after World War I. They rewarded and they broke the Ottoman Empire and gave to 3 sons of one person called Sharif Hussain was there. 3 countries were made for 3 sons. Can you believe that? Yes, countries were made for 3 sons. Sharif Hassan's sons. Then he was the ruler of Hijaz. That time there was no Saudi Arabia. The area where Medina, Makkah and Jeddah are there, that was called as Hijaz region. So there Sharif Hussain used to rule, who helped Britishers in the war against Ottoman Empire. His 3 sons were given 3 countries. Iraq, Jordan. Yeah, first sons. So that is why.
Which countries?
Jordan, Iraq and Hijaz. But now another family, Saud family was there. After some time they attacked Hijaz area and they made that part of their empire, and that area became Saudi Arabia. Right? So this is, so now we'll talk about the consequences. One, okay, they decided all these things. They decided all these things in that Treaty of Versailles. So talking about the consequences of the war, Russian Revolution, Treaty of Versailles is also a consequence of World War I. Right? It's very important, consequences of war. Russian Revolution, Treaty of Versailles, and
League of Nations.
League of Nations. Formation of League of Nations. What is League of Nations?
Preventing the wars to stop. Reduce the manufactures of arms.
Yes. League of Nations is basically a world body. Like today, United Nations organization is there. Similarly, after World War I, UNO was made after Second World War,
Yes.
but League of Nations was made after First World War. And today, 193 countries are there in UNO, but in League of Nations, not many countries were there. Mostly they were there. America was not there, and these many defeated countries were not there. So it was not fully represented. Like not all countries were there. So, but basically their aim was, we had enough of wars, right? We had enough of war. We should not fight the war. Whatever problems are there in the the world, we will solve those problems through talks, and we will work for the development of the world. So that was the basic purpose of consequence of. So how many consequences?
Three.
Russian Empire was, Russian Revolution was there.
Yes.
Ottoman Treaty of Versailles,
League
League of Nations. These are the consequences of the
World
World War. So that changed the world forever. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them about world wars.
No question.
Your explanation was very nice, sir.
Thank you. In our next class, we'll start with our Second World War. But before that, something important happened. Economic depression. That was one of the causes of World War II. So we'll learn about that in our next class. Thank you.
Thank you.